In this video, I'm going to be answering your questions such as, do I need to file a tax return for a business with no activity, meaning it didn't have any income or expenses? What type of tax return do I need to file if I'm a sole proprietor, or maybe I'm being taxed as a single member LLC, a multi-member LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp? When is my tax return due based on those different entities I just mentioned? And also, what are the penalties if I accidentally file late? So if this is your first time watching, my name is Navi Miraj. I'm a CPA who helps, in particular, real estate professionals, that's real estate agents and brokers around the country, save thousands of dollars in taxes. But this video is for all business owners, regardless of what type of business activity you perform. So let me just say this real quick. Do go ahead and subscribe at this point in time, because all of my videos are going to be like this one, where I'm either educating you or teaching you a tax strategy to save you thousands of dollars in taxes. So with that said, let's go ahead and transition to the whiteboard behind me. So let me kind of start off by explaining what I've got listed here. So across the top of the whiteboard, I've got your entity types and entity type, tax classification. That means how this entity type is going to be taxed. Given it's taxed this way, what tax return do I need to file? And do I even need to file a return based on if I had, what level of activity I had? And then when is the due date for this particular tax return, right? And then in the rows here, I've got the different types of entities that we're going to talk about during the video. Okay, so let's start from the top. Let's say you formed a single member LLC. So you went to your state, you filed an LLC, and there's just one member, which is yourself. This is also going to apply if you're just, let's pretend your name is John Doe and you're just doing business as John Doe, or you've filed what's called like a fictitious name agreement or a trade name, or it could be called a doing business as. If you filed any of those, then you're going to be taxed as a sole proprietorship. That is your tax classification. All right. So what type of tax return does someone who's taxed as a sole proprietorship file? They will file a Schedule C, which is a separate schedule that's part of your individual tax return. That's what ITR stands for in this example. All right. So single member LLC is taxed as a sole proprietorship. And where does those taxes get filed? It gets filed on your Schedule C, which is part of your individual tax return. Okay, now do I even need to file a return? Let's say I just started this business, there wasn't much activity. Well, the sort of general rule is if you have profit, and I'm defining profit here as you've got your revenue, you've got some expenses. If you've got profit greater than or equal to $400, the answer is yes, you need to file a tax return. Now, if you didn't have any activity, let's say you formed a single member LLC, you had no income, no expenses, then you don't have to file a tax return. Also, I want to be clear here, if you've got expenses and you've got, you don't have a profit, let's say you have $800 in losses, you probably want to file a tax return to take advantage of those losses to see if they can offset any other income that you have, all right? Now, when is your individual tax return due? It's due on April 15th, just as you probably suspected it's due. All right, so let's move on to the next category. So next we have the multi-member LLC. So this is if you've gone to your state, you formed an LLC, and you're on it, and there's someone else on it, right? And for this, I'm going to get to this in a second, but I'm going to say for now, it could be your spouse or it could be someone else, right? This type of entity is taxed as a partnership, okay? So you're going to file a partnership tax return. I know that might be news to some of you watching this form. If you have a multi-member LLC, then it'll be taxed as a partnership. What does that mean? That means you have to file a separate tax return. It's Form 1065. It's called an informational tax return. And that tax return is due on March 15th. Before I get to the due date though, do I need to file this partnership tax return? Well, the only time you don't file a partnership tax return is if you had zero income and you had zero expenses, all right? So if you had no business activity, no income, no expenses, then you don't have to file this return. If you have, $100 of revenue, $100 in expenses, you need to file this partnership Form 1065 tax return and it's due March 15th, okay? 1 month prior to when your individual tax return is due. All right, what do I have here in this sort of purple color? This says multi-member LLC, but specifically it's a husband and wife, and it's in a community property state, all right? So if it's a husband and a wife team and it's not in a community property state, then you follow this guideline here in the green. But if it's a multi-member LLC and I'm the partner, I'm a partner, and so is my spouse, and I live in a community property state, then the way this is actually taxed is as a sole proprietorship, okay? That might be news to you, even if you're a tax preparer watching this, or if you're a new business owner, that's probably definitely news to you. It's taxed as a sole proprietorship. And so the tax return that you complete is Schedule C, same as it was here, but this MFJTR, that's just saying it's on your married filing jointly tax return, right? Now, do I need to file a tax return? The rules is just like it was up here. Yes, if you have a profit greater than or equal to $400, you want to file a Schedule C tax return. If not, if it's less than 400, then technically you could get away with it, but I'm just saying it's probably a good idea to file if you've got, income and expenses, and you've got a loss for sure. You probably want to file that return. That's due again April 15th, just like it was up here, okay? What's next? What's next is a C corporation. Now this is not likely that you form this entity. This is usually for larger corporations, but if you filed a corporation in your state, then your tax classification is also called a C Corp, all right? And the tax return due for a C corporation is the 1120, all right? So it's a separate tax return than that of your individual tax return, okay? And do you need to file a return? The answer here is yes. Even if you had zero income, zero expenses, the IRS is still expecting a tax return for this. It might be filled with zeros, but you still need to file it. And when is it due? It's actually due on April 15th, okay? So that is the C corporation return. All right, last section here. Now, what I'm trying to sort of depict here is that an S corporation is not an entity type. It's not a legal entity type, right? So in order to be taxed as an S corporation, you would either have to have a single member LLC, or a multi-member LLC, or a C corporation. And you can fill out paperwork with the IRS to have this type of entity taxed as an S corporation. So if you filled out that paperwork, or your accountant did, or you went through LegalZoom or something like that, and you made the S Corp election, then you have to file the 1120S tax return, okay? That's the type of tax return that you have to complete. Do you need to file a return if you didn't have any business activity? Yes, okay? If you're a corporation, specifically S corporation or C corporation, even if it's all zeros, no income, no expenses, you need to file that tax return, okay? When is the S corporation tax return due? It's due March 15th. So I want you to realize here what's going on with the due dates, okay? Let's talk about late fees as it relates to these due dates. If you're learning for the first time here that your partnership tax return or your S corporation tax return is due March 15th and not April 15th, and March 15th has already passed, well, unfortunately, the late fee from the IRS is going to be $200 per shareholder or $200 per partner per month, all right? So using the example of a multi-member LLC, if you even miss this by 1 month, it's 2 partners, 1 month went by, so you're at a $400 late fee. So please be careful and be cognizant of those due dates, all right? Real quick, if you were listening to this video for the first time and this was a little bit too advanced for you, and you're wondering like, what is an LLC? When would I be one? What's a C Corp? When should I be an S Corp? And by the way, an S Corp can probably save you thousands of dollars in taxes. Don't worry. I've got a video explaining the legal and tax differences, which is probably going to be popping up here shortly if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're not watching on YouTube, then you can just visit my website. It's navimirajcpa.com, and my complete video library is there for free for you to binge on and learn, and also implement tax strategies that you may not be aware of that could save you thousands of dollars in taxes. So I hope this video was helpful and you receive value out of it. If so, please, again, consider subscribing and sharing this video with a fellow entrepreneur so that they can learn and they can save thousands of dollars in taxes as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.